Hello everyone, and welcome to a CloudHouse spring training for your Google Tech video. Today we're going to talk about different ways you can do some spring cleaning for tech, specifically related to the Google products. Let's dive right in and see what we have for us today. Okay, so we're going to go through a whole bunch of little random things that I think are really helpful for just doing a little bit of spring tech cleaning. So we're going to talk about purging those unnecessary email drafts that you probably don't need anymore, archiving your read emails, so anything you've opened up that you don't have to take any action on, how to create labels in Gmail and using filters, give those untitled documents a name. Give those untitled documents a name. They don't need to be untitled. You just left them untitled. We'll talk about organizing your bookmarks and how to use groups for Chrome tabs and how to organize them. A little reminder to update Chrome and a reminder to send a thank you to your tech team. So this is going to be a demo video, so I'm going to just dive in. So if I go over to my Gmail, you can see I've got a whole bunch of things coming in here. So I'm going to scroll down to my drafts. So if you're like me, you probably have many in here. I know in my other inbox, I definitely have about 100 that I purged the other day. So you see I have a couple of different drafts in here. One that's just named draft, no details there. One that's just junk, and one that I started writing a message. So maybe some of these you want to keep, right? So maybe this hi there one is actually the start of a really important email that I have in my mind. So we can keep that one. But anything else that you know is just an accident that you don't necessarily need, let's get rid of. So hit that little checkbox up here to select multiple, and then maybe uncheck any of those ones that you want to keep, right? So we're going to uncheck this one, and I'm just going to simply discard those drafts. And then those are gone. A little bit less clutter out of my Gmail inbox, so that way I don't have to worry about it anymore. And this number is nice and low instead of the 142 that my other thing was before. So then let's talk about archiving. So great thing about Gmail is when you archive things, they still remain in your Gmail inbox. They're just hidden, right? So they're not in that main inbox where you can't see it. They'll be sitting in this all mail, or you can go ahead and search for them. Right, so maybe there's a number of messages that you've already clicked through and you've read, and you have to do no action on those emails. It's just there for reference in case you need to go back and check it out. So if you archive those emails, you could still go back and reference them. You could search them. You can go and check in all mail. There's a lot of ways you can find them. But having them clutter up your inbox will ultimately probably make you a little bit less productive. So go ahead and clean out those ones that you've already read. Right, so we want to try and get away from using Gmail as our to-do list and just leaving things in there. So there's a couple of different ways you could do this. I'm going to go next to this little checkbox here. I'm going to click this arrow. I'm going to click read, and it's going to automatically select any email that I have read. So great thing now is all of these are selected. I'm going to hit this little archive button, and they're out of here. So I have 4 messages that are archived. So I could easily go back and search for those and find those later, but I already read them. I don't need to do anything with them. So let's get them out of here and focus on the stuff that I need to read and do. There's some other ways you can go ahead and search and do this. If you go up to the search bar up here, you could type in some stuff up here. And you can go and say, for instance, I think you could do is, and then colon, read. And it will go ahead and be able to kind of show you what you have read or not read. Okay, so let's keep going through our list. Creating labels and using filters. So labels are a really fantastic thing. For any Gmail message, you can have one label, no labels, or multiple labels, right? So maybe you have a label for alerts, maybe you have a label for a specific product launch that's going on. Whatever your labels are and whatever works for you, really take advantage of them. So I have no labels here, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm seeing clearly a lot of Google Voice configuration problems. So let's make a little label for that, right? So I'm going to create a label. I'm going to name it Google Voice, right? So anything that has to do with Google Voice, I'm going to hit create, and I've got this little label here. I want to go ahead and add some color to it, right? So I want to go click this little sidebar here, go up to label color, and I'm going to make it this light blue. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm going to go into one of these Google Voice alerts, right? So I could see here, I've got a Google Voice, configuration problem alert, whatever it is. So there's a couple of different ways I can apply this. So if I want to apply a label just to one email, I can go into it. I can click this little label button up at the top here. I can click Google Voice, and it's going to automatically apply it. That way, if I go back to my inbox, it's really easy to see and tag what label or folder that goes to. So, so now what if I want to go ahead and make it so any of the emails that come in like this automatically get that label? This is where filters come in. So I'm going to do a couple of different things to set up a filter. So I'm going to click this 3 dots at the top here. I'm going to hit filter messages like these. So by default, what that does is it just searches your inbox for messages from the same sender. So as you can see, that's not necessarily all what I'm looking for, right? I've got something about a data export. I've got about a suspicious login. I want stuff that's just for this Google Voice, right? So I'm gonna go back into my search bar here, and I'm gonna say that the subject also has Google Voice in it. And I'm gonna hit search again. All right, so now my search is a little bit more refined. It's from the Google Workspace alerts, no reply at Google, and the subject contains Google Voice in it. So if I'm scrolling through, I see this is hitting the messages that I want, which is really super. I'm gonna go back up to my search bar. All right, and now, instead of hitting that search button, I'm gonna hit create filter. So I'm gonna hit create a filter, and then when a message is an exact match for the search criteria, what do we do with it? So I'm gonna apply a label. I'm gonna choose that new label that I set, Google Voice. There's lots of other things here you can do. You can automatically archive it. You can mark it as read. You could star it, so on and so forth. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply this filter to any existing matching conversations. I'm gonna click that. I'm gonna hit create filter. Okay, so now if I go back to my inbox, you can see all those Google Voice configuration emails got that label, and anytime a new one comes in with that, when it matches that criteria, we'll also get it automatically. So those filters are constantly running when stuff comes in, which is really great. Then you create this label, you create this filter, and then all those rules are doing the work for you. You don't have to go ahead and keep manually labeling things. You absolutely can if you have something that you want to manually label, but filters give you a lot more power to automate some of that process. Okay, great. We're gonna jump over to Drive for a second, and we're gonna give those untitled docs a name. If your Drive looks like mine, it's probably really similar. You've got a couple of things that have names, and then you got a lot of things that are untitled, right? So similar to our purging our unnecessary email drafts, what of these docs and presentations and slideshows and spreadsheets are real? Do I actually need them and they're just untitled? Or are they just like, I started something and I actually don't need it again? So what I recommend is double click into any of those and see like what's going on. Is this something you want to keep? Great, it is. So I'm gonna retitle it, How to Use Technology. And if you just double click or click once on the untitled title there, it's gonna automatically grab those first few words and throw it at the top and do it for you. You just need to click there and click away and it will do it. I'm gonna close this out and you can see it's already renamed it and this is already looking a little bit better. So if you say, Nick, I have so many documents in my Drive, how am I gonna only find the ones that are untitled? Well, pretty easily, you could just go to the search bar here and just search the word untitled. There's some ways you could refine this and get it a little bit cleaner, but for the most part, this is a really quick and easy way to find all of those things and then sort through and be like, hey, do I need this spreadsheet? Oh no, it's completely empty. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that spreadsheet, right? And then very quickly, my Drive is getting a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. So go ahead, take a few minutes, give all those untitled docs, presentations, and spreadsheets a name and make your life a little bit easier. Okay, let's switch over to Chrome. So how to organize your bookmarks, right? So if you're like me, you go ahead and visit a site, you star it, you say, I might need this later, and then you just like let it live in bookmark abyss, and you have no way of like really knowing if anything's there, and so you never really go back. So my test example here doesn't have a ton of bookmarks, but it's the same sort of an idea, right? So I have a couple of different bookmarks here. I've got some from our Cloud Asta website, and I have some through the Google Workspace, different communication methods, right? So let's organize these a little bit and pretend that there are 400 of these and you want to make it a little bit cleaner, right? So let's go into our bookmarks manager, and we get brought to this fancy new space. What I'm going to do is on the top right here, I'm going to click these three dots. I'm going to do add a new folder. It's going to be Cloud Asta resources. All right, and then what I can do is simply drag and drop those different bookmarks into that folder, and I'll do the same thing with my Google Workspace. I'm going to add a new folder, new bookmark folder here. Google Workspace official resources. I'm going to drag those in here. The bookmark manager makes it really easy to do this. And then if I go back up to my bookmarks there, you can see this is nice and sorted for me. It's really easy to do. So organizing your bookmarks, again, will take you 5 minutes, and you'll actually know what's in there, what you can unbookmark, and how to organize it. Another thing is let's open up those bookmarks because they're just so fantastic. Right, so I'm going to open these up because I really want to go ahead and have all of my tabs open, right? Because if you don't have more than 40 tabs open at any given point, clearly you're doing something wrong. And I've got these different things up, right? This is great. I've got lots of cool resources, but maybe I actually do need to keep these up, but it's so hard to see all of them at once. So more recently, Google Chrome has these Chrome tabs groups feature, right? So if I want to right click on this Google Workspace one, I can say add tab to new group. And then all of a sudden I have this group that's I'm going to call Google Workspace. I'll do GWS. And I'll name it, I'll color it, I don't know, orange. And now I'm going to also drag in, I can either right click and hit add to group for this other tab, or I could simply drag it in there, and you see it gets that cool orange color around it. So now those two different tabs are under this tab group, and there's two things that's good for. Visually, it's helpful to see what's grouped with what things, but the bigger thing is if I just click on this name, it's going to go ahead and collapse it, which is fantastic. So maybe you have 10 in a group, you could just collapse it and only expand it only when you need to do it. All right, so I'm going to do the same with our Cloud Asta resources. I'm going to right click, I'm going to add tab to group, create a new group, Cloud Asta, name it blue, give it a color blue. I'll show you how I can right click on this one and add it to that Cloud Asta group. And now look, I've got these two Cloud Asta tabs in my tab group, and I can go ahead and collapse them and get right back to work, right? We're right here. But I have these in case I ever need to expand them out. Really helpful. Once you kind of dive in with the tab groups, you're probably not going to go back. Fair warning. And kind of the last two things I wanted to talk about was like updating Chrome, right? Chrome gets updates very regularly, right? Every couple days, you're going to see that little update button pop up here. So make sure you do it. Don't be, like me and wait till it gets red and blinking and it gets really angry. Just like go ahead and click it. It goes a lot faster than you think it does every single time. Click that relaunch, right? There's so many vulnerabilities out there and we want to go ahead and make sure you're as safe as possible. So, watch this video, then go update your Chrome and then come back and go through the agenda. And last but not least, really important, like send a thank you to your tech team. There's a lot of people out there who try and support you, and we're one of them. And if you are anybody who gets any sort of help from somebody from a tech department, I'm sure they would really appreciate a nice little thank you during your spring cleaning process. Anyway, thanks so much for watching our spring cleaning with your Google Tech. This has been a Cloud Asta video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm Nick Marchese, and thanks for watching.